Let's just start with the way that you open your newspaper or whatever digital medium of news you're using. Think back, when's the last time you saw a satellite image? Probably not that long ago. And back in the day, this wasn't necessarily something that was being done so frequently.
But now geospatial data is everywhere, and so are the ethical challenges we should be aware of.
There's various different ways that this stuff is really getting in the background, becoming more and more part of the kinds of urban processes, for example, that we see around ourselves. And it's not just urban processes, but that's what I'm particularly interested in.
For example, in 2022, French tax authorities used AI and satellite imagery to detect undeclared swimming pools, which increased property taxes but were often not reported.
So in theory, you're supposed to register your pool and pay taxes on it in some way or another. And people were simply saying, hey, no one knows that I have a pool in my background, so I'm not going to be paying my taxes. I'm not going to register it.
An AI tool developed with Google and Capgemini scanned aerial images to spot pool shapes and cross-check them with tax records. A pilot in 9 regions found over 20,000 hidden pools, generating 10 million euros in new taxes, prompting a national rollout.
We can have all kinds of opinions on whether that's right or wrong, but what's really interesting is that the kinds of emotional reactions you get the moment that there is this new technology that starts getting used to pick up on pools, identify where they are, which can lead to more tax income and can indeed be also more tax income from the ones who might have more financial means. But should this happen just from day one to the next day? Or should there be some kind of discussion on whether it's okay to use that kind of technology in that way? And what might be the errors here, right? Is there maybe someone who has just a blue piece of plastic in the back of their yard lying around that the image recognizes as a pool? Or someone who's got the most money is able to camouflage their pool afterwards. So we're not actually getting to a place where it leads us to really good better social outcomes. So there can be these kinds of things that you can see beforehand that you might not be able to have seen without those kinds of tools and without the kind of resolution that many of these different Earth observation technologies now have. And they can have very clear social impacts on a day-to-day basis.
What other uses of geodata in urban areas come with potential social impacts?
There may be reasons to say, okay, we need to understand why there is public transport in some areas that's working and in other areas where it's not. Why should some people have access to vital services and others do not? And for that, it might be sometimes interesting to use geospatial data to understand also how people move through space. So, sure. The problem is containing things. There might be companies that have very positive intentions and that are starting out good. But unfortunately, we had too many cases where then later on they said, okay, we're doing this for a good cause. We're sharing this visualization of where people move and how they're moving about. And we're really doing it to create a community of, say, runners. And then all of a sudden you reveal something that you didn't intend to. But it feels like it might be necessary to get a little bit more real about this and really consider, okay, what are the implications of this? And that is both on the side of the people using tools that in some way or another collect geolocation data, as well as on the side of the people who are building them and who are developing them. And that's really also why I'm doing this, because I feel it's necessary to get a better sense of, is this actually helping us to create more equal cities, or does it also have negative implications that we have to take into account, that we might right now not see, but that could very well be there downstream?
Speaking of downstream, and speculating a bit, where are things going?
To a degree, we're having this kind of process where the built environment is also getting adjusted so it can be easier read with those kind of data. You know, the way that you might have lines on the street, those might get used also to identify where later on a drone is supposed to fly around that street network, so it doesn't keep on flying into buildings if it's flying autonomously. So I find it very, very interesting how we might also start to see that newly built urban areas may start also adjusting to being easier to read from the top, and to think about what that means both in terms of what kinds of urban environment we will end up with that if we go with that logic and if we start building cities to suit computer vision, or you know, if we don't. It's just lots of open questions around.